Today, we're going to continue talking about our series reading that we've been working on. Last week, we talked about how to work well with a group and how we're going to set goals with each other. We've talked about characters in a series. Today, we're going to switch and we are going to talk about how important the setting is when you're reading in a series of books and how they might continue, but also how they can help me figure out the story better, okay? So, we've been putting ourselves in the shoes of the main characters to help us understand the story better. Thumbs up? Does that make sense? Yeah, that helps us. Today I'm going to teach you that a series reader also keeps track of and envisions the settings throughout the book. Because this helps us to talk about the possibilities for how the story may go. Okay, I'm going to show you how I, as a reader, pay close attention to the setting to help me envision the story, okay? So watch, I'm going to go back to our first book in the series, okay? And I'm going to think out loud to show you. I went way back to the beginning when the girls were just arriving at their grandmother's house and they were first seeing the house for the first time. And how, as a reader, I'm making a mental picture in my head, okay? I'm envisioning it. Mrs. Grimm ignored the comment and flipped through the key ring, inserting one key after another into the locks until she had unlocked them all. Then she rapped her knuckles on the door 3 times and said, "We're home." Daphne looked up at her sister for an explanation, but Sabrina had none. Instead, she twirled her finger around her ear and mouthed the word crazy. The little girl giggled. "Let me take your coats, livelings," Mrs. Grimm said as they entered the house, and she closed the door behind them, turning the locks one after another. Okay, I'm already picturing them. She's unlocked a whole bunch of locks on the door. They think she's a little crazy, and they're just walking into this house they've never seen before. "Liebling?" Daphne asked. "It means sweetheart in German," the old woman said. She opened the coat closet door, and several books tumbled to her feet. Mr. Canis quickly restacked them for her. "Girls, I must warn you, I'm not much of a housekeeper," Mrs. Grimm said. Okay, so I'm already picturing kind of a really cluttered and messy house. She's already had books just fall all over the place. She said to Mr. Canis, who picked up the girls' suitcases and headed for the stairs, "Ladies, let me give you the grand tour." She led them into the living room. It was enormous, a much larger room than seemed possible in a cottage so small. Each wall was lined with bookshelves stuffed with more books than Sabrina had ever seen. Stacks of them also sat on the floor, the tables, and every other surface. A teapot perched precariously on a stack that looked as if it would fall over at any moment. Books were under the couch cushions, under the carpet. Several giant stacks stood in front of an old television, blocking any chance that someone could watch cartoons. Okay, already just in one page, I've got quite a mental picture as the reader. I'm picturing them walking in, and there are just books all over the place. And they're not nice and organized like a library. They're just everywhere, and they're falling out of places. So I've got a picture, I'm envisioning it. I'm already coming up with questions as a reader, like, why does she have so many books? Is it just that she likes to read? So that was a good beginning, and that was the beginning of book 1. So that is how a good reader might use the setting as clues to the story. So, did you see how I reflect on the importance of it? Okay, you're going to have a try at it now. Okay? I'm going to read a passage from the current book that you haven't heard yet. And I want you to use the skills that I just modeled for you. And you're going to make a mental picture, envision it, and when we get done, you're going to turn and share with your partners what your mental picture looks like and what their mental picture looks like. Okay, are we ready? All right. If it helps you, you might, since I'm reading this time, you might close your eyes, but obviously if you were reading, you wouldn't do that. Okay. Soon, Sheriff Hampstead pulled a squad car into the driveway of the family's quaint 2-story yellow house. It was very late, and all the lights were off. Sabrina opened her door, and Elvis lumbered out, still wearing 2 Lilliputian-free glue straps on his giant behind. It was bitterly cold, and Sabrina hoped the 2 adults wouldn't blabber on. Granny could talk a person's ear off, but the sheriff just thanked them again and excused himself, claiming he had paperwork piling up at the station. At the front door, Granny took a giant key ring out of her handbag and went to work unlocking the many locks. Once Sabrina had believed Granny Relda was just a paranoid shut-in, but in the last 3 weeks, she had seen things that she would never have dreamed possible, and now understood why the house was locked so tightly. Granny Relda knocked on the door 3 times and announced to the house that the family was home, making the last magical lock slide back and the door swing open. Are you already getting a picture in your head? Okay. After cookies and some vegetable oil swabbing for Elvis, Granny Relda said, "Get cleaned up and hurry to bed. You've got school tomorrow. I've kept you up too late as it is." "Actually, Granny," Sabrina replied, I think I'm coming down with something. I'd hate to go to school and get everyone sick." Granny grinned. "Sabrina, it's been 3 weeks. If you 2 don't go to school tomorrow, they are going to put me in the jailhouse. Now up to bed." Sabrina frowned, forced a cough to make the old woman feel guilty, and then marched up the steps. Couldn't Granny see there were more important things to do than go to school? Okay, do you have a picture of what you're seeing? We're going to turn and talk. One go first, partner B goes second. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was picturing I think she was
All right, I think she had 4 seconds.
Did you have something?
What did you guys envision? What was it?
Yeah, I imagine trying to see grandma where the couch is. I don't think that's right. I don't think what
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Back up here. Nice job, boys and girls. Thank you so much for coming back so quickly. Thumbs up. Did we have some good things to share with our partners?
Yep.
Did you instantly have a mental picture that came to mind? Was it easier this time to have a mental picture because we've already read one of the books in this series?
Yeah.
So you've got some ideas in your head. Now, one of the things though that you might do as a good reader, you might notice as you continue reading, you might need to revise as you go if needed. Revise means sometimes as I learn more things, I might change my thinking. So can I change my mental picture? I sure can. Okay. I want to remind you, boys and girls, so readers pay close attention not only to the characters and what's going on with them, but readers should also pay attention to the settings in the story to help them figure out what's going on and how that's important to the story. So, today and every day while you're reading out of your own series books, I want you to pay attention to the setting, envision it, make a mental picture. You might even jot something down about it. All right? Off you go. Go grab your books and go read it again. You and I need to have a chat, sir. Maya.